Joe Campbell was a 32-year-old small business owner who used to live in a nice little town in Arizona. Now he was also a stock market enthusiast, right? Just a casual trader. He used to take few trades once in a while. So one day, Joe heard the news about a pharmaceutical company called Kalo Bios. Now, Kalo Bios was a failing company, and that day they finally announced that they were shutting down their operations and selling all their assets. Right? So the company was basically dead. So, Joe Campbell, like many other traders, saw a trading opportunity in shorting the shares of this company. Now, shorting, in case you don't know, is a trading technique when traders sell the shares of a weak company with the expectation that the stock will come down later, right? So, the basic idea is to sell high first and buy low later. Now, at that time, the stock was trading somewhere around $2, which meant that if he shorted this stock, the price would eventually come down to zero and he would make a decent profit of $2 per share. So Campbell sold about $33,000 worth of stock at an average price of about $2 a share. Now everything was going fine. In fact, at the end of the trading session, he was sitting on a good profit. But then he thought, I'm already making enough money here. So why don't I carry this trade to the next day so that I can maximize my profit? I mean, this company is going down to zero anyway. So if I just keep holding this, then I will make a nice and clean $60,000. But that turned out to be a bad idea. So what happened was that in that afternoon, Kalo Bios issued a surprising press release announcing that an influential investor named Martin Shkreli had acquired more than 50% of the outstanding shares of Kalo Bios. And on top of that, Martin Shkreli went on Twitter and said that he would not sell any more stocks to those looking to short sell it. So these two news flows, the acquisition of the company by this investor and his refusal to sell shares, became a deadly cocktail for all the short sellers because the stock of Kalo Bios Pharmaceuticals went through a massive short squeeze which took the stock of the company up by 800% in that extended hours of trading. Now all this happened within just 1 hour and Campbell had no idea what was going on. In fact, he was in a business meeting at the time. And when he got out, he received a message from a friend who knew that Campbell was short on this stock. So he said, just check out the stock because something is going on here. So of course, after hearing the news, Campbell started freaking out. So he immediately called his broker to check what was going on. Now the first thing that the customer care representative told Campbell was that they had already closed his trade. So when Campbell heard that, he was kind of relieved because he said, okay, at least I'm not in that trade anymore, right? That was a good thing. So his next question was, of course, how much did I lose? So the representative said, okay, let me check. You sold the shares of the company at $2 and the trade was closed at an average price of about $18.5. So you incurred a loss of 825%. But Campbell was still not able to understand. He said, look, I don't understand all the jargons. I don't understand these calculations. All I know was that I had $37,000 in my account. Are you telling me that I lost more than $37,000? And this is when he got the shock of his life. Because the agent explained that for buying back those shares at $18, they needed a total of about $150,000. And since Campbell's account only had $37,000, the broker had to put their own money to close the trade. So now Campbell owed the broker $106,000 and including penalty and charges and everything else, it basically came to about 1 crore rupees. Now this news crushed Campbell because he had never imagined that a casual trade like that would ruin his whole life. Because Campbell was just a middle class person, he did not have 1 crore rupees, so he was left with no choice but to sell all his positions and he had to liquidate all the money from his and his wife's retirement account. But in spite of doing all this, he was still not able to pay off the broker. And in the last ditch attempt to avoid bankruptcy, he created a GoFund campaign for crowdsourcing the money. But that too did not work out because he barely got some $5,000 from it. Now little is known what happened next, but most likely he lost literally everything in just one trade. So what did we learn from this story? See, first of all, the question that we need to ask is that can this happen in India? And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. Hundreds of Indian traders fall for this mistake every day because they are not aware of how shorting works, right? So this is what we need to know from this story. Number one, do not attempt shorting without understanding completely how it works and the risk involved. Number two, never carry an unhedged short position like Joe Campbell did. And number 3, which is I think the most important lesson that we can learn from the story of Joe Campbell, is that when you short something, you can lose more than your capital. So guys, this was the moral of the story. I know this is a sad story, but this is also a cautionary tale of how dangerous the stock market can be, especially for those who do not understand how it works. So I hope that you learned something from this and you will remember that in your own stock market journey.